best fighters don't fight the best anymore. You know, they all they want the money. Brian Garcia, good kid, nice looking, handsome young man, but he has a lot of followers. But when push came to shove and he had to fight Tank Davis, Gervonta Davis, he fell short.
An Empire Boxing and Unlearning Network production.
Welcome back to another episode of the Empire Boxing Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Jay, and we have a really exciting episode. Former professional boxer with an impressive record of 36 wins, 20 coming by way of knockout, and only 4 losses. Previously, John held the WBO Junior Middleweight title and the WBA Middleweight title. Action Jackson even landed himself in the Ring magazine for Fight of the Year against Jorge Castro and is faced off against even some Hall of Famers such as Bernard Hopkins. Now, John formerly and currently works as a coach to superstars like Claressa Shields, Sergey Kovalev, even Kimbo Slice, Bernard Hopkins, Alan Green, Shane Mosely, and so many more. John, it is a serious pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time and staying up late in Florida to chat with us tonight.
My pleasure. It's wonderful to be here. I look forward to having a great interview.
Thank you so much. So we were chatting before the show, and we were talking. John, you're originally born in Colorado, and is that where you cut your teeth in boxing? Was in the state of Colorado?
Actually, no. When I was around 6 years old, my mother and father got divorced, and my father got custody of me. So he moved to, of all places, Salt Lake City, Utah. And that's where I cut my teeth in boxing. I went to a gym one day. Actually, it was Albany, Utah, which is about 30 miles away from Salt Lake City. And me and my friend were coming home from school one day, and we wanted to play basketball. But in order to play basketball, you had to go to the boxing gym. So he got in with some guy and beat the crap out of this guy. So I got in with somebody else, and this guy beat the crap out of me. But I loved it. I went home to my dad, I had a bloody nose, and I was boxing. And my father, he said, okay, well, he took me back down to the gym. He walked me down there and told the coach he had to teach me how to fight properly for 6 months before I could box again. And that was it. And so my first tournament, I met the guy that beat me up in sparring, and I beat the crap out of him.
No way. If that's not like the plot of a movie, then I don't know what is. So what was that like, that first fight experience, especially with someone who you'd had beef with?
Yeah. Well, it was fun. It was funny because I enjoyed boxing. I enjoyed the challenge of not getting hit by other boxers. From the time I was a kid, I loved it. The first time I really saw it, and I wanted to be a boxer. I can't explain why, but that's always been my passion from the time I was like 6 years old.
Wow, that's amazing. And it sounds like your dad, correct me if I'm wrong, he was in your corner from the beginning and he supported that journey?
Yeah, it's definitely. We all, like you say, from my first, even when I had a coach, from what I remember, my father was in the corner, not the trainer. He trained me, my father was in the corner. And, we were together for a long time, but when it was time for me to turn pro, I had to sit my father down and say, listen, I loved it. I can't hang in the corner anymore because, I didn't go and learn from somebody who really knows boxing. And, it probably hurt my father, but he understood that and he accepted that. He knew I had to go elsewhere. So I relocated to Philadelphia, Pennsilvania.
And what was it like, so that was at the time you turned pro, moving into kind of Philly. Because I've heard some stories. I lived in LA for a time. I boxed over in LA, and I've heard some stories about like the culture of boxing in different cities in America. So tell me a little bit about the difference between Salt Lake City's boxing culture and then coming into a city like Philly.
Yeah, well, it's a big step. It's really different because in Utah and Salt Lake City, real quiet, nice people, but really quiet. A lot of Mormons there, and they do the same. But Philadelphia is a big metropolis, a big city, and there's so many different things going on, so many different cultures, and boxing was plentiful in Philadelphia. That's one of the meccas of boxing, and just to be there, every gym you went to, there was like a superstar fighter, that someone that you had read about or seen on TV. And it wasn't just one. There was maybe like 4 or 5 guys in each gym. And the one thing that I loved about Philadelphia at the beginning was every gym that I went to, even though I had a professional trainer, Georgie Bennett was my trainer from Philadelphia. But even though I had Georgie, when you go to the different gyms, some of the older guys would give you insight and just they would teach you things about boxing. Even though your trainer was teaching you, they want to show you some new techniques and new things to do. And it was so nice because you learned so much. If you were smart and you listen to these guys, you can learn so much from them. And, it was free. Take the knowledge that you can get. And it was just beautiful because boxing was so plentiful in Philadelphia. The whole Pennsylvania area state, it was just so plentiful.
That's really cool. And what did you find that really helped shape your style or your ringmanship or things that you brought into your pro game from your experience in Philly? How did that change and mold your professional style?
Well, the beauty of being in Philadelphia and being with Georgie Benton was, he didn't try to change my style. All he wanted to do was add on to it and make me better at what I did. So, and he was telling most people, it's not so much, even though I praise Georgie, he was great, one of the great trainers. But, a good fighter doesn't really learn from his trainer. He learns from other fighters because you steal people's moves. You watch them and you say, I'm going to try that. So a real student of boxing, he watches everybody. And you might see something that a certain fighter does. You might like that move. So you say, I'm going to try that. You say to yourself, I'm going to try that. And so, even though you learn from your trainer, a good fighter learns from watching other fighters. And you steal some of the moves and you incorporate your own style. And then you make it work for you.
That's such a good insight. So in your opinion, because now you're obviously a really acclaimed coach yourself, do you think that's sort of what should be the coaching meta in boxing is don't try to change a fighter and make them fight like you, but it's like how do you see the raw talent, the ability, the raw skills and add to a fighter? Do you think that's sort of the best approach?
I think you hit it right on the head. That would be the best way to do it. But unfortunately, especially in today's society, with the advent of social media and you have all these different platforms, a lot of the good trainers are pushed to the side. And all these so-called teachers of boxing will never box a day in their lives because they got some kind of media platform they're doing. Fighters, for some reason, today's fighters, they gravitate towards them. And all the good guys that have knowledge, they push them in the back. And you get these guys, and these guys. Here's another thing. Floyd Mayweather, great guy. Him and his uncle, they had this little ritual they would do with the mitts. And they did it for the media.
Are you talking about the float?
But behind closed...
Yeah,
but behind closed doors, Roger Mayweather trained Floyd. They didn't do that same thing. They grinded in the gym every day and got him ready for his fight. But in front of the cameras, they had this nice thing that they did. And, it looked great, but it didn't teach you anything. But fast forward to today's so-called trainers, that's what they want to do. They want to be more glorified than a fighter. They want to say, I'm doing all these great things, when they're not teaching the fighters how to truly fight. And it hurts the sport and it hurts the fighters of today's generation.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think there is a real pseudo clout that Instagram brings, right? Anyone can appear to be, and it's almost just like the shinier and the glossier you are, the more people are attracted to that. It's not coming from a study of the sport or being a student of the sport. It's like, how many likes can I get, right? And I think I agree with you. I do think it is hurting the sport of boxing. Now, on that note, now you've got this element of crossover boxing, and of course, we just had a pretty a big fight. We had Francis Ngannou crossing over against Tyson Fury, and I don't know if you watched that, and I'd love your opinion on it. But what do you think this crossover boxing is doing to the sport of boxing?
Well, it's good and bad. The good of it is it keeps boxing in the spotlight. The bad is you have guys like, and don't get me wrong, Jake Paul, I've met him. He seems like a nice person when you meet him, but he's hurting boxing because he's not a real boxer. He hasn't been grinding since he was a little kid. He's coming to the sport, and listen, he's making a ton of money. I can't knock him for that. I'm not knocking him for what he's doing, but I'm knocking him for what he's doing to the sport because he cheapens it because he's had maybe 3 or 4 fights, and you have guys that have been starting from the time they were 6 years old. They fought all the amateur fights and they turned professional. Now they might have 30 or 40 fights before they get a world title shot. Here's another guy, and like I said, he's doing what he has to do to make money. He's probably made 20, 30 million, not really fighting anybody, or not having let's say, suffer through the rigors of going through the years of grinding and grinding to get what you really want to get to. He's been able to make himself popular by going to social media for how he got there, and he's made it where he made a ton of money. So now you see guys talking about, I want to fight Jake Paul. Well, okay, if you can get that and you're a superstar person, you can make it happen. But he got there. I give him credit for doing what he did, but he hurts the sport of boxing because now, if you watch, the best fighters don't fight the best anymore. They all they want the money. Brian Garcia, good kid, nice looking, handsome young man, but he has a lot of followers. But when push came to shove and he had to fight Tank Davis, Gervonta Davis, he fell short because he really hadn't gotten, he hadn't really learned the craft the way he should have. And even though he was a good fighter, when push came to shove and he fought somebody to really fight, he fell short. And a lot of guys today, these young kids, everybody wants a title shot with 6 pro fights. Come on, you haven't learned how to fight yet, truly. And that's why I say a good fighter. Well, say you were fighting, I'd watch you, and any good moves that you got, I'm gonna steal those moves and incorporate in my thing, so make myself better. I learned from my coach, but I watch you doing it. And then if I'm a student of boxing, I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna try to steal your moves and make me a better fighter. Today, these guys don't even do that. They just want to go in there and fight for the money and hope that they get a million followers.
Yeah. Do you think, if this continues like this for the next, 5-10 years, do you think we're going to see a decline in the quality of boxing at the highest level?
Unfortunately, it would probably be like that because, it's just the way things are going in the world. And why should I train hard for 20, 15 years of my life when I can get a million, 2 million, 3 million followers and fight you and get 20 million and don't have really fight a lick? It's just that I'm so popular. If my popularity is great, I can get those followers to buy my fight. Now, if I win, great. If I lose, great, because Brian Garcia, he made $20 million off that fight when he fought Gervonta Davis. I'm surprised he's even talking about boxing again because $20 million, if you're invested right, you ain't worried about nothing else for the rest of your life. Where's the hunger? That kind of money, where's the hunger inside you to keep boxing? There's no more reason to really box because you're set now for life, basically. Yeah. And he hasn't fought since. He's talked about fighting, but he's enjoying that money that he also made now. So how hungry is he really? And that's the problem in the future to look at. How many of these kids would be hungry if they're able to get a great payday early in their career? Where's the hunger? Where's the desire to really fight and stay champion and make that money? Because case in point, let me get another one. Al Heyman, real good guy. He was doing good for boxing, but he hurt the game. Not because he raised the bar on the money. It's because what he would do was, say he signed you to a contract. You can fight for him twice a year. You might make $4 million. Okay, but how come I can't fight 4 times a year and make $8 million? Greed, if you're a hungry fighter, greed takes over. You say, I want to fight more. I want to stay active. Because by boxing more and being active, it keeps me sharp on what I have to do as a fighter. But the less I fight, I get rusty and I might put weight on and it hurts you. So Al Heyman was great for boxing because he raised the bar on the money. But on the flip side of that, the best fights were in Fox. You can fight twice a year for Al. And the best wouldn't fight the best. He shielded a lot of his fighters from fighting the best in their group, and their weight division, the weight limit. And because him and the other promoters want to get together, they didn't put the best fights on. Even though Bob Arum and Don King couldn't stand each other in the 70s and 80s, when the big money fights came along, they both got together and made the fights happen. And the people loved that because they put the best fights on. Now, they couldn't stand each other, and the fans didn't care about that. They just want to see a good fight. And Bob Arum and Don King put those fights on when they needed to make them.
So what I kind of hear you saying too, and I agree, I've been feeling this. It's like the visibility of boxing has increased, but almost at the cost of the culture of boxing.
Yes.
And then because of that, the cost of the culture, there's a whole element of the passion and the hard work and the grit and the work ethic and, starting from the bottom and working your way and then defending your belt or whatever that journey is that's kind of getting sucked out of boxing. And because of that, I was thinking, you know, I think in 5-10 years, I think the quality of what we're going to see at the highest level won't really be what's possible at the highest level in boxing like it was, you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So that's really interesting. It's just so great to get your perspective on that too, because you're right there in it right now. And from the fighters that you're working with and their opinions and experiences, is there anyone, like, obviously I can tell that some fighters are like, yeah, you know, give me the Jake Paul, let me make the bankroll. But are there fighters that also oppose that?
Yes, I've heard from a few of them, you know, but here's the problem I tell them. You know, first of all, you should kind of thank Jake Paul for keeping boxing alive. I mean, he makes it relevant because he's a big name guy with no experience from boxing. I said, but on the flip side of that, he hurt the day's fighters because he's making all his money the easy way. You know, without the years of going through these amateur tournaments and these professional fights where you're making no money and you're fighting to get to the top. You know, he's at the top already and didn't really work hard to get there. But, you know, like I tell my friends, you can't knock him for what he's doing. He found a way to get ahead of the game. And a lot of people, you know, you were fighters, you guys didn't do the same thing he did. And I said, don't be mad. I'm kind of embracing him. I said, if you were smart, if the fighter was smart, I'd go to Jake Paul. I said, do me a favor. Put me on one of your cards. Let me fight. You know, you're going to get it because, you know, the media follows him. So you get more exposure being on his card. Why fight him? I said, why be his enemy? Embrace him. He might put you on one of his fight cards. Hey, you get seen by the sports writers and TV. You might be able to get yourself a contract with these guys and get yourself your own fight. You know, so, you know, don't knock him completely for what he's doing. I mean, you can't be mad at the man. He's hustling. You know, his hustle's good. He's not a true fighter, but he's making the money where most of the true fighters want to make money. So kind of maybe change your attitude, change what you do in boxing. You know, try to get out there. They say social media is great. Put your own try to get your own platform, and you know, go on Instagram and have it still do stuff every day. You know, it's I know a lot of guys that have a lot of followers from Instagram, and I say, you know, it makes them popular. I said, but certain fighters, you know, just have that thing that makes them the people like Ryan Garcia. The girls love him. What's wrong with that? He had appeal, and it made him some money. So. You know, and in today's society, that's what you have to do. Go on Instagram and make yourself famous. You know, and if you make it, fine. If you don't, then you should try. But don't go knock another man's hustle. He was smart.
Yeah.
And it works for him. I mean, is it great for boxing? In a way, yes, and in a way, no. But it keeps boxing relevant because he keeps boxing on people's mind and on their lips because he's boxing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. I also think it's not fair, you know, to take a black and white perspective of anything anyways. You know, it's like you have to think critically, and he, yeah, from a business side, it's genius. And I also see him kind of trying to change the you know, the structure of, you know, purses and younger fighters or like newer fighters getting a little bit more pay and more exposure and all the marketing that goes along with that. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it's not fair to him to just say blanket, no, it's bad, it's cheesy, even if it is cheesy at times. I think there is a critically thinking would say that there's a positive side to that as well. So that was very well put.
One thing beautiful that he's doing, and I give him credit for it. If you watch him, he puts on, I believe her name is Amanda Serrano. He puts on a lot of female fighters. Most guys don't want to help the females out. At least he takes time and he puts these girls on a platform, and they make money. And that's nice because most, you know, I hate to say it, most fighters wouldn't do that for a female fighter. But he takes time to put these girls on and gives them a chance to showcase their talents. And, you know, Amanda made some pretty good money from it. And some other girls have made some decent money. So, you know, I'm glad he does that for the females because most times they wouldn't even get that kind of break. Take like I trained Claressa Shields. She's the best female fighter in the world. But because, and I tell her, you know, her and Jake kind of falling out. I said, listen, go make up with that guy. Be his friend. You'd be surprised what he can do for you. You have a great name in boxing. He has a great name in social media. Together, you can become a millionaire just fighting on his cards. You know, so don't be his enemy though. You know, all the time. Sometimes you gotta be somebody's friend. If you see he can make it, make. I mean, in reality, really genuinely be his friend. Don't try to just use him, but be his friend. You'd be surprised what they do for you.
Yeah, that's a really good perspective, and I mean the phrase always rings true. Like it takes a village, and the industry is small, and I think better to be the person that everyone's like, oh yeah, they're cool, than someone who's having falling outs with everybody, because it is a small world out there, and that's a great segue into Claressa Shields as a coach of the greatest female fighter in the world. What have you noticed that stuck out as the challenges that she might experience that a male fighter kind of at an equal rank might not experience? What have you been privy to or witnessed?
Well, the thing that I noticed with her, she's hands down the best female fighter in the world today, and possibly the greatest female fighter of all time. I mean, her record, I think she's accomplished, makes her that person. You might have a couple girls that you might say were just as good, but the thing that I try to tell people with Claressa is, from her first pro fight, she fought a girl who had more experience than she did as a professional. She's never been babied or cradled. She had to fight every tough girl out there. She didn't get a chance to fight a girl with a record of maybe 1 win and 15 losses and been knocked out 12 times. No. First thing, female she fought was like 8-0. And she just, 0-0 come out the gate. So, she's a great fighter. Her only problem is, and this might sound bad for me because I'm in America, but I told her all the time, go over to Europe, go over to England. They love you over there. In America, it's a male-dominated place, and they're not gonna let you get above them. I said it's unfortunate, but that's just how they've been for the longest since they've been here in existence. I said, but if you go over to England, they love you. I mean, when she fought Savannah Marshall, she had over 20 million viewers over there for the fight. You can't get 10,000 people in America to watch you fight on TV. I said, go over there where they love you, where they embrace you. And, you can make some money over there. Here, you can't make it the way you should over there. And, I said, I don't know how many contracts with your promoter is still left over. But once that ends, you have a promotion contract that you have of your own. Take it over to England and co-promote with somebody else. You can make a ton of money. You make a ton of money. Not just the purse you get, but all the other revenue that's been generated from TV, from live stream, from whatever else they have. You're going to make a ton of money. Because, you're not making that because you only get a set purse and the rest the promoters take. But if you become a co-promoter, you make a ton of money. And over in England, that's the best place to do it. So, hopefully next year she'll take my advice and she'll do something different and go over there and make the money that she deserves to make because, Clarissa's 27 now. She's in her prime. You have so many years left. So you got to get it where you can because, when I met you, she was 22. 5 years ago, I'm quickly. So now you got to, these are your best years to make the money for yourself.
Yeah.
So in your prime, you should do it and you should co-promote yourself so that you can make the most amount of money that you can maximize to get before your career's over with. She told me she wants to fight until she's 40. I started laughing at her. I said, you can do that. You're probably going to defeat it. But why? Go make the money where you can so you can enjoy being 40. And then you don't have to worry about boxing.
Yeah, interesting. Where did this, I feel like you have a pretty broad understanding of the industry from all sides. Like it seems like you have a deep knowledge as a coach, you have obviously deep knowledge as a fighter, and then you have a lot of insights into, the business aspect of it and how it all works. Where did that come from? Was that years of experience or did you have a mentor in the mix as well?
It's a little bit of both, and I'll tell you why. Because when I was champion, my biggest problem in boxing was I didn't want to sign with anybody because I didn't trust the promoters in general. And I'm not saying they're all bad. But they sure came away a lot richer than the fighters did. And maybe because they're some promoters, but guess what? You're not the one putting out your blood, sweat, and tears. You're putting out sweat because you're probably trying to work this promotion. And I give Don King credit. Don was the best because Don hustled. He did some other things, but he hustled to get. He had to go to Africa to get a fight. He had to go to Venezuela to get a fight. He had to go to all these different countries to get fights, and the Philippines. And he hustled. He went and got these fights and got the most amount of money he could, who was the main money for him or the fighters? That's a different story. But he hustled. In the 2000s, in the early 2000s, most of these promoters, unfortunately, they relied on site fees from casinos, which makes their job easy because if I have to guarantee site fee from a casino, I have to worry about getting all the extra money to fill this venue up and have butts in the seats because that's going to be the casino's problem. Because now they want the gamblers come in there and sit down, and after the fight, they can go gamble and lose that money. But so most promoters got to start getting these site fees from these casinos, and they have to hustle to get a venue. Whereas Don King and Bob Arum didn't have it, and promoters before them, they're going to hustle and get these arenas and fill these seats up if they want to make some money. So promoters of the 90s and on, well, let's say 2000 and on, they start to get a little bit lazy because, they have this guaranteed money. Mm-hmm. But now the casinos don't really get involved with boxing. So now what do? Now they try to go TV, but TV's dying out because, Showtime in America, that's done now. HBO is done. You have the Zone and maybe one or two more. But you don't have the big TV networks any longer from America that promote these shows. So now what are you going to do? Because you're lost. Because the Zone, Eddie Hearn has the Zone, and Sky Sports is in England. They're pretty good. There's a couple, TV programs or stations in England that still pay for these fights, and probably some other countries that I don't know. But here in America, that's dead. So what are these promoters going to do to hustle and get this money? If you can't put the butts in the seats, you can't get a big venue to make the fight happen. And there's very few fighters today that really command that kind of and draw those kind of fans to the fight. It has to be a big fight. Like I said, Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis was great because Ryan Garcia was a matinee idol. He was a nice looking kid who drew the fans. You don't have any, unfortunately in boxing today, most good fighters don't fight each other. So the best fights aren't being made. It's like when Mayweather fought Pacquiao. That fight was 5 years too late. If it had happened 5 years sooner, it would have been a very competitive fight. It could went either way, but 5 years too late, Floyd was a better fighter. Pacquiao was kind of on his way down a little bit. And that's what they still do today. They don't make the best fights. It's like, you can't get Tyson Fury to fight Usyk. They're saying December now, but how's it going to happen when Tyson had a bad performance in his last fight? You really can't sell that fight now.
I would love your, I heard
that's the problem.
I heard the pay-per-view for, what was it? What did they gross? Like 67,000, which is laughable for, I know, Tyson Fury. Now, I'd love your opinion because for me, I watched that fight and I think I probably thought what everyone thought. I thought, Tyson Fury is just going to show him what the champ, like the highest level of the heavyweight boxing looks like. And, I was absolutely I was really impressed with Francis Ngannou's counterpunching and just his balance, like even just the way he moved in the ring. It didn't look like he was way out of his league. One. Two, obviously he's powerful and he's athletic, and Mike Tyson did a great job with him, I think. But I don't think that Tyson even did a camp for that fight. What do you think?
If he did a camp, it wasn't the best camp he could have ever done because he looked to me fat. He looked overweight, coming into the fight. I don't think he took the fight serious enough. I don't think he felt that this guy could really hurt him. Or was any danger that he would just, outbox him and take him to school. Well, he proved that theory wrong because I didn't really watch the fight. I watched a couple rounds, but from what I saw, the fight was very close. And a lot of my friends told me the fight could have went either way. The other guy could have won. Tyson's at a stage of his career where he needs to switch trainers because the trainer that he has is not teaching him anything. Here's the thing that's crazy about boxing. He knows more than his trainer because his trainer never really fought. His trainer's uncle was Emmanuel Stewart. Great man in boxing. But because you're my uncle and I never fought, that doesn't make me a great trainer. It gives me a name to use to get into boxing and make myself seem like I'm great. But if you watch Tyson Fury's last few fights, he's looked terrible. He's not the same guy that he used to be when his father trained him. He's still a decent guy, but he's not the person he used to be. And maybe the hunger's leaving him because he's made a great deal of money himself. It's like I said, I went back to it. These guys that make money, now you know that's what makes a true fighter, because once you start to make a certain amount of money, the hunger is gone, the desire is gone, because you're not starving now. You don't have to worry about if I can afford a house, if I can afford clothes or food just to feed my family. If you're making millions of dollars, you're okay now. So where's the hunger? And that might be Tyson Fury's problem now. The hunger may be gone because he's made millions of dollars. So even though he likes the limelight and the attention, doesn't mean he trains it hard now because he's a millionaire. So how hard is it really for him to it has to be hard for him to get up and run every day and stay focused about fighting, because financially he's set for now. So
yeah, I agree. It didn't seem like he took it seriously at all. And I think, there's also an element of belts weren't on the line. It was a title. It was clout. It was the baddest man, which as far as Tyson sitting counting his stacks of cash, that doesn't matter. He's got nothing to prove, right? So what if it was, and I agree. I think it was a really close fight. And I think so close that if one man ended up on the canvas, I think it should have gone the other way. But really interesting. I think where we were talking about the idea of the visibility increasing, but in that case, that's maybe not a great example. Pay-per-view sales were at an all-time low, but you have just a little bit of dilution to the culture around it. But outside of that, I think Francis Ngannou should keep boxing. I thought he looked great. I would love to see what he could do in the heavyweight division. I think even seeing him against Anthony Joshua would be a great fight.
Well, believe it or not, they have been mentioning him and Deontay Wilder fighting.
I heard that too.
Which is not good for Deontay, because how long has it been since Deontay had his last fight? About a year, maybe.
Yeah, it was Fury 2, right? Or Fury 3 was the last one.
Fury 3, and he hasn't fought since. So how rusty is he? I mean, for him to come out and want to fight, this guy's dangerous, Francis. So why do they do that? I mean, go fight somebody else, maybe down the road. Because you're gonna make some money with this guy. He's very popular. But why fight him right away? Go fight somebody else and get the rust off your body. So when you do fight him, you're 110%, because he's proven to be, if nothing else, dangerous. That was his first pro fight, and he's very dangerous. So why take him that lightly? Now you see that he can fight. Get your butt in shape. Go get a tune-up somewhere. Take less money, get a tune-up. Show you're hungry, and then you can fight him for millions.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, really interesting. Let's dip back into your professional career. I would love to hear about your experience. I think the obvious one would be against Bernard Hopkins and Jorge Castro is probably two of the coolest fights I saw when I was looking up your record. And I would love to know what that experience was like for you. Let's start with Jorge Castro, because you fought him twice. And one of those fights was in Ring Magazine, because it was, by all accounts, just an absolute incredible back and forth. And then at the very last second, that fight slipped away from you. What was it? Yeah, what was that experience like? Tell me about that.
Well, the reason why I even fought Castro was because the WBA stripped me of my title. No, not for any really good reason. They said I had a non-title fight without their blessings. Well, a lot of the fighters that my friends in boxing that were champions for the WBA, they had non-title fights without their blessing. But the thing was, I was dangerous at that time, and Castro beat Argentina. His manager's ties were so great with the WBA, and I beat the WBA in federal court 5 times in America.
Wow!
And the 5th time I beat them, they told me I was leaving, we're going outside. They said, "John, you beat us, but your jurisdiction is based in America. We're based in Panama. You don't get your title back." Wow. So now I had to go to Plan B, and I had to negotiate to get a title fight with this guy who has my title. And, it got nasty, but we finally worked it out. And in my mind, I'm going to try to kill this guy. And I was beating the crap out of him. One referee, one judge had me ahead by 10 points. We only fought 9 rounds, so I was ahead by 10 points. So I was beating the crap out of him. But he was a strong, good guy. And I made a mistake, and he counted on it, and he dropped me. The first knockdown was legit. I'll tell everybody that. But the next two knockdowns, he pushed me, but the referee called them knockdowns. And if you look at his face, I cut him up so bad, both his eyes were slit wide open. I closed one eye, and I pulled his teeth out, I broke his nose. They still didn't stop the fight. So, you know, I had to fight to get my title back in federal court, and even though I beat him, they still didn't give me my title. So now I had to go and fight him, which I didn't mind fighting him. I was going to fight him regardless, because here was the thing, when I fought for the title, the promoter gave me 2 contracts. We met at a restaurant, and he slipped me 2 contracts. So I signed the first one, because that was to fight Reggie Johnson for the title. But the second contract was to fight Castro. I said, well, I rolled that up and stuck it in my pocket. I said, I'll sign this one later. Let me sign the first one. So the representative of the WBA, I don't think they wanted to leave unless he had both contracts signed. But he left with just the one contract signed. So I went to court. One of the main reasons why I proved that I was in the right is because I produced the original contract that I didn't sign to fight Castro. And that was one of the reasons why I beat that whole thing in court. But, you know, it was, you know, like I said, I didn't ever sign with a major promoter because I didn't trust these guys. And a lot of my friends, unfortunately, they ended up broke. A lot of them had dementia, couldn't speak well when they finished boxing. And, you know, I didn't want to sign with a major promoter because I wanted the best chance I could to not only make money, but to be the best that I could. Well, I didn't make the money. I was champion. You know, I was WBO champion for 4.5 years. I defended my title 6 times, and I was middleweight champion. I never had a chance to defend my title because they stripped me of it. And you know, I just didn't want to. I don't want to play the game the way a lot of my friends played by their rules, because their rules weren't built for you to come out of the game unscathed. You know, like I said, a couple of my friends made a lot of money, but not very many. Most of those guys came out. Their speech was slurred. They walk messed up. They can't talk properly. They can't sing properly. Or something was wrong with them. And luckily for me, I was a defensive boxer, so I learned how to be very evasive and not get hit. And that was one of the things that helped me. It hurt me one time when I fought Castro. I got careless, but other than that, I always was on my P's and Q's about not getting hit. And you know, trying to make sure that I dominated the fight that way. And, you know, I just didn't trust the system that was out there for us at the time.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, your record shows, I think, you know, out of 41 fights, I mean, you've only been knocked down, I think it was said twice. So that's some incredible skill, not only defensively on the forward, but also on the back foot defensively. You know, I mean, that proves it right there. To hit and not be hit is the key to come out, you know, as healthy as possible. And, you know, I think what you're talking about too is that's the dark side of boxing that everyone knows is there. And I think what, you know, going back to a guy like we were talking about, Jake Paul, like I do think that there's an element of that he is trying to change, or at least says he is. We'll see what happens with that. And I think that's fantastic because boxing does have a historically dark side. And promoters are also seen in a super negative light, which we've always had it on our radar as well as to how we operate and how we want to be, you know, in our community.
Well, let me say this to you, and here's what I tell most fighters. Honestly, you know, and what I'm saying might hurt the sport, but you don't need a promoter. If you're a good fighter, now Jake Paul's not a good fighter, but he's very good at what he does. He sells himself. I say, watch what he does. If you're a good fighter, go get your own promotional license. Find somebody that you trust. I said, learn the sport, and then be there for everything that you need to learn. So when as you're going through these preparation for these fights, you can know the business aspect of boxing also. So come fight night, you're gonna maximize your dollar value because you're gonna make sure you get every cent you're supposed to get, and not just what the promoter tells you you're gonna get. Because most fighters don't realize this. I don't know why they don't realize this. If they don't realize this, they're the people that put the butts in the seats, not the promoter. It's the fighters. Even though Don King was a great salesperson, he would sell a fight. He, 24/7. He'd sell it. He'd talk about it. Let me show you can get on. But he had some of the best fighters at Ali. He promoted Joe Frazier, George Foreman, all these guys he promoted. Mike Tyson. They're the reasons why the people came to see him, not because of Donna King. He was a good salesman, but they were better because he had the best fighters around him, and so people came to see them fight. So I told these guys today, if you're that marketable, you can promote yourself. If you know, and if you don't know the game or you're not that up on it, maybe educational wise, find someone that you know, that you trust, that can read these contracts for you, or can help you get where you need to get to, so that you can maximize your dollar value.
Yeah. Interesting advice. I think even just obviously we promote and I see the relationship there between what we do and the fighter and the success as we build. We work with mostly new fighters as well, so their fan followings are quite low. We have to sell our asses off, But having said that, I think it's not in anyone's best interest to be a participant in something that you don't understand. And I think to your point, being a fighter, you should understand the game. You should be able to, if you don't know the jargon enough to confidently comb through your contract, someone you trust in your corner, whatever that looks like, a manager position or a friend, a parent, whatever that is. But, I think being a participant and not understanding what you're participating in fully, I think that's great advice for any fighter is, learn, stick around, ask some questions, watch, market yourself. Be disciplined and motivated to be a participant in growing your own career and not sitting back waiting for people to do things for you as much as well. Because as soon as someone's doing things for you, they're more in charge of you and they're starting to pull the strings and you might not get the say, So I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
I think that's great advice.
Well said. That was well
Thank
said.
you.
Yes, definitely.
So, okay, touch on Bernard Hopkins, because I'm obviously a boxing fan, and that just sounds like one of the greatest fights that could have been at the time. So, talk to me a little bit about that fight.
I met Bernard Hopkins in 1980. I'm gonna say 5. No, I'm sorry. I met Bernard in 1988. I was world champion. I flew back to Philadelphia to train for a fight. Happened to go to the gym and he happened to be there. And his manager came up to his trainer said, "John, would you be willing to give my kids some work?" I said, yeah, I'm looking for work while I'm here. And I said, not a problem. And it happened to be Bernard. Bernard was really a rugged, at that time, Roger's a really rugged brawler. He wasn't quite down with his style yet, or when they do all the things he had to do. So what I did, should have done it back then. But I taught him some things. I took him aside, I started teaching him how to box and how to fight a southpaw. Let's fast forward to 1997. Here's what some people, I wanted to fight Bernard back because I know I could beat him. But I had one problem. At that time, I was living in LA, and I was doing a lot of TV sitcoms and trying to do these movies. I was trying to move into a new world. So by the time I fought Bernard, they taking my title from me. And when they took my title from me, it was like I lost something. I wasn't the same fighter. I just, when they stripped me of my title, they stripped part of my life away. I worked hard for that title. And I thought I won it honestly. So when I fought Bernard, I was so much into television that trying to make these movies and do these shows, I wasn't training properly, so I was heavy. So I had to lose about, I was probably 185, and so I had about 25 pounds. And it was hard because the weight was on me and I was getting older. And I don't blame him. I tell him, we talk about all the time. I said, it's not your fault because I was in the sauna every day for 2 hours and trying to lose this weight. Weight wasn't come off. So when I fought Bernard, I was so drained. I had nothing in me because I had to starve to make this weight. And I tell people, a lot of people don't know that, but that was my fault. I can't blame him for that. That's me living the Hollywood lifestyle, trying to make these movies and also in this different world. And I wasn't training every day properly. So when the fight came along, I didn't really have time to get ready for it the way I wanted to. And, hey, it's history. What happened at first round, I was okay, but after that, I had nothing left. And once he realized I wasn't the same fighter I was when I sparred with him years ago, he started grinning, he started smiling at me, and he knew he had me. And hey, it happened. So the one thing I say about it, I love is the fact that he became such a good fighter. I can't sit there and cry about our loss and this guy. Right? I got to be by the best. one of the best guys in my era. So I'd rather get beat by him than lose somebody that couldn't fight a lick. And that doesn't say much for me. So, like I said, we're good and I trained him. I knew he had my respect because he allowed me to train him for certain fights after I was done boxing.
Yeah.
And that said a lot to me that he knew that I could be a great teacher to him. Even though he didn't fight, I could still help him win these fights. And, that he was one of the reasons why I really got into training fighters because, when I was still boxing, my trainer, Georgie Benton, out of the blue, I don't know how this came, he said, John, you're going to be a great trainer one day. I said, man, get the heck out of here. I don't want to train these guys. They're hard-headed, But he saw something that I didn't see, and he said, man, you're going to become a great trainer. He said, trust me. He said, because you understand the game of boxing, and you're very patient. You're not, you help a fighter out. You don't just have him try to do what you did. Because in my opinion, every fighter is different. No two fighters fight the same. They might have similar styles. But I might not be able to fight the way you fight. So I have to let you do what you do best. And I have to be able to work off of that and make you a better fighter with what you do. Not with what I did. Because, I didn't believe in getting hit in a fight. But you might be that. You might be a guy that doesn't mind getting hit. So I got to show you now how to get hit less. And lessen the beating that you might take in a fight so you can fight longer. And, and with Bernard, when I trained him, I didn't try to teach him how to fight. He knew how to fight. You don't need me for that. Let me tell you how to beat this guy that you're going to fight next. Let's work on his style and what he does best so that we can eliminate all this guy's good points and expose his bad points, his weaknesses, and you can win the fight. And Bernard loved me for that because he said, man, you never tried to teach me anything different. I said, why should I? You know how to fight. You beat me. So who am I to tell you how to fight differently?
Yeah.
So I said, let's just work on what's going to make you a better fighter in this fight. And we'll take it from there.
That's why I wanted to ask you about that one because I knew there was more to the story. I think when people know full circle that it was someone that you had met early on, had worked with, you guys each gave each other work. Fast forward to you're in the ring together, and then that very same person calls you as a teacher. That's a beautiful story,
Yes.
and I knew there was more to it than just, you fought Bernard Hopkins, whatever. It was, I think that's the coolest part of the story is that full circle journey in fighters developing each other and how it's a testament to your skill and your craftsmanship for him to come full circle and come back into the ring with you. So, as a teacher. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, a great segue too, so your coach saw that in you that you were going to make a great trainer one day, and lo and behold, you are that great trainer. What would you today say to you back then, if you were skeptical of whether you could be, a good trainer? What would you tell yourself?
I probably tell myself to listen to my trainer, and he's right. It takes a while to really get that knowledge of boxing. I mean, you see a lot of people out there today, and they might learn a little bit of boxing. It doesn't help them become a better fighter. It has to be a passion. You have to love the sport, so that you learn all facets of it, not just one phase of boxing. I was more of a boxer puncher, more of a boxer defensive specialist, and I tell my fighters today, I said, don't be like me because I hurt myself. Because I wasn't more exciting as a knockout puncher, even though I could punch. I remember when Bernard and I was sparring, I was getting ready for a fight, and I hit him with a good shot, and I wobbled him real bad. They walked away, and they stopped it for a minute. And he said, you hurt me. I said, I had power, but I didn't rely on my power. I relied more on my boxing skill to get me through fights. And that's what hurt me as a fighter because TV didn't really want to show my fights because I wasn't knocking guys out. And managers wouldn't have their guy fighting me because I was too dangerous. When I was, one time I had a non-title fight I was going to have. I was junior middleweight champion. And I called, my matchmaker called 26 fighters. They all turned me down for a non-title fight. They all turned me down. So let's fast forward now. I'm middleweight champion, and I'm still trying to get a title fight before I got stripped of my title. I walk in Don King's office. After I lost to Castro, I signed with Don King. So I'm walking Don King's office one day to talk to Don King. He wasn't there. So I started, Dana Jameson she did all his matchmaking for him. So she said, John, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to be quiet. I'm going to make 6 phone calls. I want you to hear what these people say about you. So she called 6 managers of 3 of the middleweight champions and 3 of the super middleweight champions. All 6, and I had to be quiet the whole time she was talking to these guys. They all said the same thing. No, he's too dangerous, and he doesn't bring us enough money to fight him. So we're not going to fight him. Unless he's number one contender, we're not going to fight him.
Wow.
And that's, so that let me know right there that, she showed me that she was sincere being honest, trying to give me a fight. But either the promoter or the matchmakers wouldn't take the fight or allow me to fight the guy. Because I was either too dangerous for him, and I wasn't bringing enough money to the table for him to make a great person. Because my whole career, the most I ever made was $100,000 as champion. These guys making $1 million a day. So, I didn't make the big money that they made. But I tell you, I said, I'm okay with that because I can do one thing you guys couldn't do. I can walk away unscathed from boxing.
Yeah.
I just don't walk and talk. And people understand what I'm saying when I talk to them. I sell my faculty, so I'm okay. I mean, would I rather have the money? Yes, but I'm still okay with what I do now.
Yeah, and there's still money to be made and time to make it. And, I think that's really powerful. Actually, it's really powerful. And for you to have the insight to know that and know and also see the value in that. I think sometimes, there's when it comes to being a professional athlete, your identity gets tied to that sometimes. And when you're no longer a professional athlete, if you haven't invested in yourself enough outside of that, there's like a piece of them that gets lost that's kind of never recovered. And sometimes I think it's hard to transition into being a coach and to be selfless, because coaching is so selfless. And if you're still trying to cling on to the identity of like, I'm a fighter, I'm a champion, it's really hard to invest fully into your fighters, So would you say you found that sort of refound or rekindled that kind of identity and passion as a coach as much as you did as a fighter?
Let's say in some cases, it depends on how big my fighter's fight is. And then, that might rekindle it because I know how important it is for him or her to retain their title. So in certain instances, when it's a certain fighter and the magnitude of that fight, it might rekindle something inside me, and that passion comes back out. But for the most part, I just think to myself, it's his show. It's not my time anymore. So I try to stay in the background. It's funny because a lot of trainers, they try to jump in front of the camera and they want to be all up in the camera. Me, I step back because I had my day. Now it's that person's time. So let me just step back and do my thing. If you want to talk to me, we'll talk. But let them have their moment because my moment's come and gone as far as boxing. I'm a trainer now, so I'll sit in the background and let you do your thing. It's not for me to be all up in front of the camera when you work so hard to get there yourself. I don't want to steal your time. I just try to be humble, and I just try to stay humble within what I do. People say you never mentioned to us that you were champion. For what? That was 30, 40 years ago. Doesn't really matter now. I mean, it's great to have that accomplishment, but you're more concerned with what this kid's doing today, not with what I did 40 years ago, 30 years ago. Was I champion? Yes, and I'm proud of it, but it's not something that I have to throw out there every day to people know what I did. What I did was what I did. It was great when I did it, but my time is come and gone. And now today's a new day, so let this kid enjoy his moment. And I don't want to steal his glory. Let him have his time. I had my time. Let him have his time. So whatever I did in the past was great, and it worked for me. But now it's a new age, a new era. And let them have their moment that they deserve.
Yeah. Well said. Really, really a great perspective. Okay, I have kind of a fun question for you before I let you get on with your evening over there on the East Coast. Okay, so fantasy matchup. All right. If you could fight any fighter from past or present, retired or expired, if you could make a fantasy matchup for yourself in your prime, who would it be?
I'm going to give you two answers because the first one's going to be crazy.
Let me have it.
The first one is Castro because listen, the first fight I was winning and I lost. And the second fight, I beat him. In Argentina, I beat him. But I knew going there, if I didn't knock him out, I wouldn't get a decision. And I'm going to how crazy that is. So initially, when the fight was mentioned to me, a guy called me and said, Jana, we want to give you $30,000 to fight Jorge Castro. You must be crazy. So what I did is I had a friend of mine, Mexican kid that spoke Spanish, called the promoter in Argentina, and I made my own deal. Made a lot more money. So they got mad at me because I let them cheat me out the money that I could have got. I got a lot more money. But I knew going into that fight, if I didn't knock him out, I wouldn't get the decision. And I had to accept that. And that was my second to last fight. Cause Here's what I didn't want to do with that. See, a lot of fighters get into a point where they're broke or they need money real bad. They'll fight anybody on a week's notice, 2 weeks notice. I wasn't going to do this to myself and belittle my career after what I've done to earn what I've gotten. I just knew that, and I didn't want to walk away from boxing maybe 10 years later punch drunk because I got hit too much now. So I took my losses and I knew that if I didn't knock the kid out, Castro out, I wouldn't win. Yeah. It was my last fight. I said, it was my second last fight. I was going to walk away, at least on my terms. Yeah. So as far as the fantasy fight, though, he was number 2 was a friend of mine. A friend of mine was named Mike McCallum, great junior middleweight champion and middleweight champion. We sparred one time, and I did better than well. But what I want to say is he was the best. If you look at the records and the time of the guys he fought, he should be known as the greatest junior middleweight champion of all time because he fought the best of his era and those that he could fight and those that would fight him. And he was definitely also a guy that was avoided a lot. A lot of guys wouldn't fight him. Mike McCallum was a great fighter, and that would be my dream matchup. We're both junior middleweight champions, and I want to see who would be the best between he and I. So that would be the guy that I'd want to fight, not because anything nasty or bad. Just I respect him. I want to see him the best.
Iron sharpens iron, right? Absolutely. Right. John, I can't tell you just like what a pleasure it's been to chat with you tonight. You're such a humble and impressive, person all around, just an incredible coach, incredible athlete. And it's just an honor for me. I'm a fan of the sport, and just to be able to talk with someone like you who has so much of a legacy in the sport and continuing to lay that legacy in future champions. And so I can't thank you enough for your time tonight.
Well, this is my pleasure. I'm thankful that Daniel reached out to me, and I appreciate being able to talk with you. You have knowledge in boxing, and you have a passion for it, and it's great. And I hope you just go on more in your career and do bigger, better things in boxing because you're great. What's the word I'm looking for? Interviewer. You're great. Yeah, you answer good questions, and I like that because it makes you think a little bit when you ask questions.
Good. Thank you. Well, like I said, you got a reason to come back to Vancouver. I know you said it's been a few years, so if you ever find yourself north of the border, you look us up, and we'll take good care of you. And likewise, I've been creasing for a trip to Florida. I need some of that sun and ocean. So if I'm down south, you'll be hearing from me.
Yeah, look me up.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Empire Boxing Podcast. This has been an incredible episode with Don David Action Jackson.
Make sure to listen, follow, and subscribe to Empire Boxing on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube.